Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's the new experience. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. Reality, spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Reality, spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Reality, spirituality. Oh, now we getting real. Getting real. Good now, real good. What I'm time to get real.
Time to get real, time to get real honest, time for Reality Spirituality Radio. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Rebecca Lynn Norrington, and I want to welcome you to the show, whether you've listened for years, whether you just listen right now. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. Who am I? What am I doing here? What is this Reality Spirituality? Well, this is a show that I have been doing for, over 5 years about the truth about the importance of happiness. I am a self-proclaimed happiness specialist, and before I go on, I want to welcome you and invite you to call in with your questions about what's going on in your life. Area code 646-564-9619, area code 646-564-9619. All calls are welcome. All questions are answered. And if I don't know the answer to a question, guess what? I'm going to tell you I don't know. But if you're interested in experiencing more happiness, please call in. And if you are having challenges in your life, that's what I'm here for. You know, we're all more alike than we are different, and my journey has been years and years and years, decades, quite frankly. And what I've been on the path for, on the journey of, is how to experience more peace, how to experience more happiness. And let me tell you that some of the questions that I get all the time is, how long did it take you to get to this point? How long? And it's such an interesting question, and I never really could answer that question until a couple of days ago, because the people that I talk to and the people that I teach always want results like now. I've been doing this, Rebecca, for years. I've been miserable for years. I've been searching for happiness for years. When am I going to feel it? When is it going to happen? And I have to tell you that this life is never about having an answer like that right at this moment. This life is really about the journey. My favorite quote, and I say it at the end of the show, is that you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. This life, believe it or not, is not about the goals. It's not about the accomplishments. It is about the moment by moment feeling and expression and experience. It's about each moment, experiencing each moment and appreciating and accepting each moment. It's really a tricky plan that the universe has thrown in all of our faces. Let me just speak for myself. It's thrown in my face. And the answer right now to that, how long has it's taken me decades, and it's only because this is the reason why it's taken me, 2 decades, 2.5 decades to get to this point, and still evolving and still learning and still growing. And it's taken that long because I didn't have any guidelines. I had to do all of this work without a book. Now, there have been hundreds and thousands of people that have written about happiness, and people that Deepak Chopra to Eckhart Tolle to Abraham to Esther Hicks to Feel the fear and do it anyway. What else? Oh, Science of Mind, which is my foundations. All of those that I mentioned are my foundations. But this is the key. None of those books, none of those teachers taught me how to. And let me because I wrote this out. Hold on. Let me find my list. None of those. I had to learn. Oh, here it is. How to. What do you do when? I was never taught, what do you do when somebody cheats on you? What do you do when you're feeling like you're getting old? What do you do when somebody offends you? What do you do when your parent dies, when a child dies, when you're homeless, when you're worried about money, when there's road rage and somebody cuts you off? This show is talking about everyday issues, moment by moment. What do you do when? Fill in the blank. And the question of what do you do when, and the answer is always tied in to, for you to experience more happiness, contentment, peace in your life. What do you do when somebody's rude to you? What do you do when you don't have any patience? What do you do when a loved one cheats on you? How do you react? How do you behave? How do you feel in those moments in our everyday? You know what I'm talking about, audience. In our everyday challenges, every day. What do you do when you're counting your money and you don't have enough and you're strapped financially? That's what I talk about on this show. Everyday life experience. Am I yelling at you? I'm sorry if I'm yelling, but I'm so passionate about it, and that's what I talk about on this show. Today's show is about fear, and all of the fear that you have, that I have, the question, let me just throw the question out at you. The question is, what are your biggest fears today? What are you afraid of today? What are you afraid of happening today? And I'm going to share with you some answers from some of my students that are enrolled in my class, The Importance of Happiness, or the truth. I keep forgetting if it's The Importance of Happiness or The Truth of Happiness. Anyway, both titles are relevant to what I talk about. And again, the number to call in is area code 646-564-9619, 646-564-9619. I am just like you. This life, let me just start right here. The only thing I have control over is not about what anybody else does. It's not about what anybody else says, what the world is going through. The only thing I have control over in my life are a few things. I have control over my words. I have control over my behavior. I have control over my personal vibration. In any moment, how I want to feel, how I choose to feel, scratch the want, how I choose to feel in every moment. And all of that, all of those feelings, all of that comes from the perspective that I have, the perspective that I choose. And let me share a little personal stuff, because I always do. I'm an open book. Rah. And right now it's so funny because since I am a self-proclaimed happiness specialist, what the universe does, in my opinion, to me, is challenge me all the time. Oh, Rebecca, you're happy, huh? Well, how about this one? Zing. How about this happening in your life? Zing. Can you remain at peace and content even though you're right now I'm having a pain going from my right shoulder all the way down to my elbow. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why it's here, but you can be sure that the universe is behind it. I also, thank you, universe, I also have a problem, if you will, with my right foot. I have to wear orthotics now all the time. And listen to this one. I sleep in this brace. It's a brace that keeps my foot in a certain position because if I don't have it on when I wake up in the morning, I can barely walk because of the pain. I guess it takes a little while for my foot to warm up, for me to get into my orthopedic Birkenstocks. I'm telling you, don't think that whatever you're looking for, you're going to find this peace and it's going to just remain. Challenge is, at least for me, these challenges are meant for a reason. They're there for a reason, to grow and to grow and to expand where I was last week or 5 years ago. So that's where I am today. And, I forgot, I don't know if you've listened to the show, but 3 months ago, February, the end of February, I was hit by a car. Sorry. And still going to physical therapy. Now, I'm not talking about getting hit by a car while I was driving. I'm talking about getting hit by a car while I was walking in the parking lot. What? Yes. And one of the things that I share and I teach is that there is a foundation. You know, when you build a house or you build a commercial building, let's say you're building a skyscraper. It's even anything, whatever you're building, a house or a skyscraper. The most important element is the foundation. Is the foundation of that skyscraper? Is the foundation of the home? And the foundation is extremely, in fact, the most important element. And so the same thing with happiness and wanting happiness. And the foundation for happiness, some of the key components to happiness is number one, and this is in no particular order, that I can't blame anybody or anything for how I'm feeling. I can't blame circumstances for how I'm feeling. I can't look at somebody else and compare what they're doing to what I'm doing. All of these things, in other words, it's a practice. It's a daily practice of not comparing, not blaming, judgments, criticizing myself or others. This is the foundation of eliminating all of that. Also, this is huge, trusting in the universe, trusting and then surrendering to the divine plan, and knowing that it's not my plan, it's the universe's plan. That's another foundation. What else? Personal vibration, choosing my emotions, choosing how I want to feel. And quite frankly, this is the big one. This is another big one. This is another part of the foundation, is accepting. Acceptance of all, acceptance of this moment, acceptance of others, acceptance of the world, and most importantly, acceptance of self, acceptance of wherever you are. And I mean total acceptance, a feeling, a vibration of satisfaction in this moment. Because I guarantee if you're dissatisfied in this moment, you are going to be dissatisfied in your future moments. Now let's talk about fears today, because that is the big topic. I teach a class at the Arcadia Recreation Community Center every Thursday. I've been teaching it for a little bit over a year, and it's the importance of happiness. And each session, it averages anywhere from 10 to 11 weeks. Summer it's a little shorter, winter it's a little longer, but I digress. And so now this is the second session in the year. And I have new people in the class, brand new people with brand new questions and brand new circumstances. And I ask this question because I give them homework. But the funny thing is, when I give out homework every week, I let them know, I let all my students know that If you're not inspired to do the homework, people, you don't have to do the homework. In other words, every moment you get to choose what you want to do, how you want to do it, and your choice determines your vibration. If you're feeling pressured, or you feeling forced, or this word that I don't use anymore, this word should, shoulding all over yourself. I said, if you don't feel inspired to do the homework, don't do it. Well, consequently, some people do and some people don't. But I had someone that answered the questions. It said, write out your 10 biggest fears. And she wrote out such a wonderful, such a wonderful list of fears. I'm telling you right now, all of you can relate. I know I related to every single fear that this woman was honest enough to share. And I would like to read them right now. The question is, write out your biggest fears today and why. You ready? She writes, fear of not being up to date with technology, computer, tablet, smartphone, etc., because most people appear to be savvy. We're going to get back to each and every one of these fears. Number 2, fear of not being relevant, because I feel invisible now at this stage in my life. Good one. Fear, number 3, fear of not having enough money, because sometimes, parentheses, most of the times, I use up all of my excess cash. Number 4, fear of being lonely or alone too much, because I need feedback or I need a reality check. Number 5, isn't this good stuff? Oh my gosh. Number 5, fear of being unattractive, because I'm getting older. I want to be attractive until I die. She actually makes a reference to Betsy Johnson, who has a design. I think I know I've heard of Betsy Johnson. In fact, I think I have a few of her things in my house. But I know she's a designer and a very relevant one, but I don't know her philosophy. But she says fear of being overweight, too old, too frumpy. So that's another fear. And number 6, she says fear of not making my environment whimsical, unstable, because I can't get it all together. Fear of not making my living environment. Okay, oops, reading it. Fear of not making my living environment whimsical, unstable, because I can't get it all together. Now, I'm going to ask you, my dear, dear, dear audience, I'm going to ask you, do you have any of those fears that she just mentioned? And if so, please raise your right hand. I'll wait. Oh, look at everybody raising their hand. Oh, thank you. Thank you for your participation. Hold on just a second. I need to take a drink of water. Actually, instead of water, I'm going to choose to have kombucha. I just discovered kombucha from Costco about 6 months ago, and I love it. Okay, back to the radio show. I don't know about you, but every one of those fears of not being up to date with technology, fear of not being relevant, fear of not having enough money, I get the fear of irrelevancy, fear of being lonely or alone, fear of being unattractive, fear of not making my living environment. I can't get it all together. Okay, let's dive into this because what great fears. Now, of course, my dear audience, you can add your own fears to it, but I am going to answer all of these questions, and I am going to hit on your fears, even though you don't call in and talk to me personally and tell me what they are. Here we go. One of the things about fears and being afraid and being able to articulate them and say them out loud and write them down, and even for me, share them with the world. Her sharing them with me is sharing them with the world. Even if you share it just with one person, just to be able to get it out. Talking openly and honestly about fears, about your particular fears, is huge. Just getting it out, expressing it. It's like shining a light on it. Once you shine a light on whatever it is, whatever the issue is, whatever it is, you express it, you get it out, at least this is what I think, you get it out and you share it with somebody else. Now it's out there. I remember having conversations with my soulmate, and listen, I've known him for 17 years, and then he tells me something and said, I didn't know that about you. Or I say something, I didn't know that about you. And as soon as we share it, as soon as you get it out, in my opinion, it's an instant release. It's an instant relief. I remember having so many things that I was ashamed of. Yeah, I'm not even going to use the word embarrassed. The word was really ashamed of, and not being able to speak it and not being able to share it. Oh, my God, and the longer I kept it in, the longer it stewed and the longer it stayed. And as soon as I was able to get it out, let me give you a perfect example. This is going to sound really crazy. I was adopted. And I knew that I was adopted at a very early age. My parents told me when I was, I think, 2 or 3. I remember knowing. It's ever since I just remember knowing. I was adopted. And I remember it was first grade, and I told no. Backup audience. It was second grade. I was in the second grade because I remember telling one of my teachers, and I actually wore it proudly. I said, I'm adopted. And the teacher, I don't remember the teacher's reaction, but I remember sharing that with my mother. The fact that I told my teacher, Mom, I told my teacher I was adopted. And my mother instantly went into this. That is nothing that you share with anybody else. That's something that's private. That's something that you don't talk about. And from that moment until I was 24, and I remember 24 because it was the year that I got married. I remember until I was 24, I felt ashamed. Now, I remember telling my best friend, but I remember saying it like it was a scar to wear. It was what did they call that? Scarlet? What do they call that scar that you wear, that X that you wear, that you're shamed for life? I remember feeling that when I told my best friend. I didn't tell a lot of people. And then at 24, I was about to get married, and I had a conversation with my grandmother, who happened to be my mother's mother. I said, and she said to me, she says, did you tell your future husband that you were adopted? I said, no. She says, you need to tell him before you get married. So it was a shame kind of sense that I felt for decades about being adopted. Is that, well, crazy or not, that's my life. That's my life experience. And it wasn't until I had my son, and I believe he was 8. So, 20, 30, she says another 30 years, 30 plus years, that I began looking for my biological family, and I had to tell other people that I was adopted. In other words, to help them to help me, I actually had to join a group. If you're adopted out there, there's a group, ALMA, you've heard of it, that searches for adopted parents. I mean, children that searching for their biological parents. I joined that group. I shared my story. And then I met more people that were adopted doing the same thing and they didn't seem like they were ashamed of being adopted, or they didn't seem like, well, who knows what they seemed like, but I eventually was releasing myself of the shame. And then I remember finding my biological parents, and I remember wanting to share that with my son, with my in-laws, and with anybody else. And when I started sharing it, people were so accepting and, really? Okay. And just, who cares? The whole story is to say that getting it out, expressing it, and I say expressing it at least to one person, is a huge first step to shining light on something that you're fearful of and getting rid of that fear. That sure was a long way to answer that question, but that's what I do. So just the fact that she wrote the questions down and shared them with the world is a huge weight lifted. So let's get specific. Fear of not being up to date with technology, computer, tablets, smartphone, etc., because most people appear to be savvy. Now, what she said here is really, really important, because one of the foundations for experiencing more happiness is to never or eliminate as much as possible, to the point of it's non-existent anymore, of you comparing yourself with anybody else. This comparing you with other people is a surefire way to subtract from your own happiness. It is every single time. Once you compare, you're subtracting from your happiness. Now, we were all learned how to compare ourselves to others. You know, you look out in the animal kingdom. The animals, the lions, are not comparing themselves to the other lions. The zebras aren't comparing themselves. Oh, look at that zebra. He's got more stripes. The fish are not comparing themselves to the other fish. The sharks are not comparing themselves to fish. Listen, we look out into the sky and you see the stars. Do you actually look and say, wow, that star just shines brighter? I mean, you could say that star shines brighter, but you actually accept the stars individually. Look out into nature. Look at the trees. Every tree is different. And I don't know about you, but I'm not out there saying, well, this tree looks better than the other. Yes, I was taught to compare myself to others. That's what my parents did. That's what their parents did. That's what society does. That's what the community does. People, it's time to unlearn. It's time to unlearn and time to eliminate this comparing ourselves to other people. And why? The only reason why I compared myself to somebody else was because I looked in the mirror and I thought I wasn't either A, good enough, I wasn't enough, I needed to do something else. I didn't value my own uniqueness. Let me say that again. I didn't value my own uniqueness. There are so many people that I am in awe of because they do things that I, quite frankly, don't do, can't do, and not interested in doing. It's just not my thing. It's not my forte. It's not my gift. The other day, I direct messaged one of my Facebook friends because I was posting a new album on my personal Facebook page, and for the last 3 months, because I am not computer savvy, just like my student writes in, I am not computer savvy, and I, for the life of me, was posting pictures from a couple of my trips and a couple of my events, and my pictures kept getting posted in the same blankety blank damn album. I have, in other words, I didn't know how to create a new, fresh album. All of my old pictures kept posting into the same album. So anytime I posted something new, they kept going into my Monterey album, which was in February. This is 3 months later, and I didn't know how to. I knew how to create a new album, but I didn't know why my pictures kept getting posted into this old album. I tried to Google, how do you, and even the question, how do you get your old pictures out of an album you created and create a new album? How do you do that? And then, of course, it took me to a lot of reading, which I do not like to do. I do not like to follow instructions, long instructions. So I knew a Facebook friend that was very, very Facebook savvy and very tech savvy, and I just asked him, hey, how do I do this? And in 3 quick posts, in 3 quick steps, maybe it was 4 or 5, he was very easy with me. He was very simple. And finally, I got it. All of those pictures. Now, I didn't take out all the pictures, but all the pictures that I had posted, I was able to create a new album, post a brand new album, and now I know. But that's just not my thing. People have so many gifts and so many talents. Listen, if I don't have that talent, if I don't have that gift, guess what? I'm going to find somebody that does and ask them either to do it for me or give me very simple instructions. So this fear of not being up to date with tech, computer, blah, 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 maybe that's just not your thing. And if you really do want to be a little bit more savvy with the computer and the tech and the technology, quite frankly, there are classes that you can take. See, one of the things that I teach and I share on the show is that everything that I share requires practice and requires action. Action and practice. It requires a behavioral shift. Yes, it requires a shift. And so just wanting and wishing to be more tech savvy, then that means that you can attend classes, or you could go online and do some study yourself. But what I found, at least for me, is that if I really, really want something, and I'm really committed to it, I'm doing it. Just like this happiness. See, I am committed to being happier in every single moment. I'm committed to this experience of happiness in every single moment. I'm not committed to being more tech savvy. I'm not committed to I'm just not. It's just not my thing. But what I'm committed to, you better believe that I'm going to act on it. So that's my answer. Fear of not being so. So listen, one of the things that I've learned about people is that they like to talk, and here's another word, and complain. Now, complaining, do you think you can be happy and complain at the same time? Quite frankly, complaining has been eliminated from my life. I can talk about it, but I'm not complaining about it. There's no complaints here. Now, hold on a second. Let me back up. Let me just be really real. There are times when I'm thinking, God damn it, universe, that's enough? Okay, already. And I can go through my days of, the days that are more of a challenge and stay there for a second. But one of the things that I know, that nothing stays the same. And however I'm feeling, if it's in the state of feeling stuck or the state of feeling, and the words are so limiting, feeling the state of just the feet stuck in quicksand, I know that it's not going to always be like that. It's not going to always feel like that. So this life is a continual flux of change. That's number one. So we're not going to. So to answer that question, being up to date with technology, no comparing yourself to others. If you really want to learn more about technology, you'll take a class. And there's something else that all of her questions had in common. Can you answer that? Do you know what all of these fears have in common? And if these fears that she's talked about, they're the same with you. All fears. You ready for this? Seatbelt on. Hold on a second. A little bit more kombucha. So good. And it's a little bubbly. I do like carbonation. All fears have one thing in common. They're in the future. Everything that she mentioned, all of your fears are in the future. Now, how do you eliminate having thoughts and having fear about the future? Well, let's get back to practicing. The practice is practice living in the present moment. Well, you said, well, Rebecca, what if the fear, I'm having a fear about the future in the present moment? Okay, thank you. All fear and all worry about the future just means that you have a lack of trust. See, when I talk about fears and worries and practicing, it's about practicing trusting. It's not about changing anything in your life, but it's about practicing the foundational tools more in your everyday moments. If you practice in every moment, in every day, how to trust more, how to surrender, practice surrendering, practice trusting, guess what? I don't know when, can't give you a date, but there's going to be a time when you're not going to have any fear because you've practiced trusting. You've practiced surrendering. So all of these fears are legitimate, but they're a clue. They're a clue to what you, my dear audience, look in the mirror and what you can practice. Okay? Let's go to number 2. Wow, this is a long show. I have a few people in the queue. You know, I love it when people call in, but they don't want to really speak live on air. That's good. I'm accepting of that. Fear of being relevant, because I seem invisible now at this stage in my life. Fear of being relevant. Well, let me say what I feel on that one. Fear of being relevant. I have to say that, because I'm telling you I can relate to all of these, I have to say that one of my biggest things is, hey, universe, this is an online show. Why aren't I on real radio, terrestrial radio? Why don't I have my TV show on? You know, hey, what I'm talking about is important. People need to hear. Millions of people need to hear what I'm saying. It's another form of being relevant. But quite frankly, let's dissect this all the way down to the least common denominator. Because everything that this wonderful woman states has to do with, always circles back to the person in the mirror. And if you don't feel relevant in your own skin, I don't care how many TV shows or radio shows or how many millions of people listen to the show or buy my book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness on Amazon.com. I don't care how many people buy it or don't buy it. If I don't feel relevant in this moment, millions of people would follow me, but I still have this feeling of not being relevant. That is an inside job. That is an inside job. And one of the things that I know that I experience in my everyday life is that the universe presents me with an opportunity to touch and to be relevant not only for myself, but to be an example to anyone else that is in my presence. 3 days ago, if you've listened to the show, you know I teach fitness 35 years. Yes, and I'm still teaching with my bad foot and my bad arm, okay? Yes, I'm an athlete, and I suffer through it. In a couple of days, it was actually Friday, and there were two young guys at the gym. They were trainers, and they were talking, and I was in the area where I, sign in and sign out, so they were chatting. And there were two trainers, and one of them was just talking about another person and how this guy didn't respond to him, and it really pissed me off. I was tired. I said, well, how long are you going to be on the equipment? And he didn't even give me an answer. He didn't even acknowledge me. That pissed me off. Now, 99% of the time, I do not engage. In my real life, I just don't engage unless I'm inspired to engage. And that particular day, I was inspired to say, you know what? You cannot blame somebody else's behavior, what somebody else did or said to you or didn't say to you, on how you're feeling. I said all of that is internal. Now, the guy that was complaining about this other one not giving him a response started arguing me down. Well, he didn't respond. And the other guy that was listening to me, I actually watched him when his eyebrows went up. I said, no, all of this peace, all of this unrest comes from inside of you. It's not because of some guy not giving you a reaction or a response. And the one kid just kept saying, well, yes, it is because he didn't. And I listened to him. But the other kid, his eyebrows went up, and I looked at him and I said, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? And I said 98% of the population is reactionary, is responding to other people, to what they do, to what they say, is responding and reacting, and actually the feelings, anger, it happens because you're reacting to something somebody else said, an ex-husband or whatever, fill in the blank, a slow cashier. But this one kid, his eyebrows went up, and quite frankly, that was enough for me. Just planting the seed, just the relevance, just the planting the seed. And so I don't have to do or say anything more than that. That was a day I could feel that this young kid was, oh, now you've given me another way to look at life. Now, what he does with that, who knows? If he comes to me and asks me more questions, that's fine. But relevance is in every moment. And let me really get down to the real truth. And the relevance has to come from that person in the mirror. You have to believe, you have to know that you're relevant. See, feeling relevant does nothing to do with other people. Feeling relevant has something to do with how you feel about self. Whew. Fear of not having enough money. Oh, isn't that great? Fear of not having enough money. This is going to have to be a part 2. I'm going to do part 2 next week, because these questions are just so perfect. Fear of not having enough money because something happens most of the time to use up any excess money. Would you like me to answer the money question today? Okay, I will. Fear of not having enough. Isn't that a common extreme fear? Here we go. This thing about money, this relationship that this society has about money, is unique. And let me just talk about let me just talk about the United States, because that's where I live. Is unique. And let me even streamline it. Let me just talk about myself. This fear about having enough money, needing more money, wanting more money, all of this. I had the same perspective. Yeah, of course. Who wouldn't like to? Yeah, millions of dollars. But it still comes back to a personal vibration of satisfaction and being dissatisfied. Money, not enough. But let me tell you something. If I had millions and millions and millions of dollars, and I had the sense in this personal vibration of dissatisfaction, I don't care how much money I'm going to have. Same with losing weight. If I want to lose 100 pounds and I lose 100 pounds, but I'm still having this feeling, it's because the feeling, the vibration of dissatisfaction has to be addressed first. I mean, it is the vibration. Don't think that whatever you get, whatever money, you win the lottery, you lose 100 pounds, you get another promotion, that if you don't address that personal vibration of dissatisfaction in the moment, that is the least common denominator. And again, so what do we practice? We practice acceptance and satisfaction in our present moment. We practice being satisfied in our present moment, regardless of what it looks like, regardless of what it feels like. Thank you for the hurt shoulder and hurt foot. Regardless, and thank you for getting older and have to gray my hair and dye my hair because it's gray. And regardless of, come on, you feel me, audience. Regardless. Money. You know, I've said this before, but if I go into let's go to a country or civilization in Africa where you know these people are hunting for their food every day, and there's no running water, and they're fishing for their food, hunting for their food. I come up there and I show them a $100 bill. They're going to look at me. I can't eat this. What can I do with this? Oh, I could use it as toilet paper. I just thought of that. I could use it as toilet paper. Thank you. So this thing of this sense of money, it's really about unlearning. It wasn't that I had a problem with money or not having enough money. It was my thoughts, and it was my pattern. It was what I was taught, that money is important, that money is important to my happiness and my well-being and my peace, that money is important, that money is going to help me with all of those feelings. And I'm here to tell you, my dear, dear, wonderful audience, Reality Spirituality Radio audience, that is not the truth. Money. And then, of course, I get the rebuttal from my spiritual people. Well, the more money you have, the more good you can do in the world. Oh, really? Yes, I get it. But don't tell me that you can't do good in the world being broke and being poor, being homeless. You know, I work in downtown Los Angeles, and, oh, my God, I have met so many contented, peaceful, homeless people You wouldn't believe it. People that are living on the street and that can smile and that can tell me a joke, and I could feel their vibration. Money has nothing to do with how good you are ever going to feel. You've read stories about people that win the lottery and tragedy strikes. Their lives could be ruined sometimes. Money is not the answer. More money is. And nobody wants to hear that. I'm sorry, but nobody. But, okay, again, 98% of the population. So fear of not having money comes all the way back to trusting and practicing trust. And what does that mean? For me, I have always been taken care of. I have never been hungry. In other words, I'm looking to the universe and feeling a sense of the universe takes care of me. And tomorrow the universe will take care of me as well. Regardless of what is going to happen to me, I know that the universe is taking care of me. In other words, whatever is happening, whether I lose everything, whether I'm out in the streets tomorrow, the only reason why I would be out in the streets is so I could get to another level or another place of trust, another level of expanding, another place of growth. Everything that's happening in my life is for my betterment, every single moment. I know that. I believe that in every cell of my body. Sometimes it feels very, 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 very uncomfortable, but the foundation is there, the foundation of trust. And when you trust, you will not worry. And when you trust in every cell of your body, you cannot have any fear. It's impossible to trust and to be fearful. It's impossible to trust and be fearful. Oof. Well, this is going to be a part one, and then part two is going to be next week. And part two is going to be fear of being lonely, fear of being unattractive, fear of not making my living unstable because I can't get it all together. Because 52 minutes of yakking by myself, I could do it. And you know what's interesting, my dear audience? Years ago when I started the show, I couldn't speak for 5 minutes. And here we go. So thank you for listening to Reality Spirituality. If you've listened or if you haven't listened, that's funny. And you've maybe taken away even one small thing in this show, good, grateful. I'm here. The universe told me, why am I here? I'm here to share what I've learned over 35 years of looking for, wanting to be happier, looking for, seeking happiness. That's why I'm here, just to share it. Nothing more, nothing less. Reality Spirituality is heard every Sunday as long as I'm inspired to do a show at 7 a.m. And if you like more information on my coaching programs, you can go to my website at RebeccaNorrington.com. That's RebeccaNorrington.com. And you can email me at info@RebeccaNorrington.com. Follow me on Twitter at RLNorrington. And if you've enjoyed the show, and I know that you have, if you're listening all the way to the end, go to Facebook and like Reality Spirituality's Facebook page. My book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, is on Amazon. And follow me on Twitter at RLNorrington. Did I say that already? My dear audience, I want you to remember who the hell you are. You are a physical extension of the universe. You're always evolving, you're always changing, and you're always growing. Be patient. Be patient and be kind. Be kind to yourself. Be your own best friend. Remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. Let's connect again next week. Part 2, what are your biggest fears? You've been listening to Reality Spirituality. Have a great, great, mindful, conscious, aware week.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Reality, yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. Spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Spirituality. Oh, now we getting real. Yeah, time to get down. Yeah, you gonna feel good.